Ja, jetzt sind wir live. Ah, super. Herzlich willkommen, Matthias. Welcome, Matthias. First we spoke German, now English. So I'm really happy that you're here. And now, first to explain my YouTube channel, normally it's in German, but I was thinking that you gave already a lot of interviews in German language about you, about your life, and so on. And I was thinking perhaps it's also nice to have to give an interview for the English-speaking people. And I'm here in the hotel. Perhaps I will show you here this wonderful hotel where you did this FIDE Candidates, and where I also have been here and I met you. And I'm really happy that now, after some months, we can meet online.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I can also recognize this place. It's not the worst place to be in.
Yes, and I'm really happy that I'm living even not far away from here. And that's why I decided to do this in English, even that we both speak German, of course, but also for the English listeners. So after this FIDE candidate, how did you like Cyprus?
I mean, I'm not sure I saw all that much of Cyprus, to be honest. I mainly saw this hotel, which is like quite a big. I mean, you can make quite big walks, but still be in like hotel vicinity. So it's, to be honest, yeah, like during the whole tournament. I mean, only on like drive from. I mean, I arrived at Paphos Airport and was driven to this hotel, and then on the way back, I was driven to Larnaca Airport. So I basically like was driven. Like via the whole island, but yeah, I didn't see much, if I'm very honest, of Cyprus. So
Yeah, and did you think because I don't know if you met a lot of Germans here, but perhaps you were thinking, okay, because there are so many Germans living now in this island, I have to get to the FIDE candidates. Was this your motivation?
I mean, when I qualified for the candidates, it wasn't clear at all where it's going to be held, so I had no clue that it's going to be Cyprus. But I mean, in general, I was very happy with Cyprus because it's not such a long travel for me, and I mean, it's pretty much the same time zone. It's 1 hour difference to Germany, which is like pretty much nothing. And I mean, it could have been anywhere in the world. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the location that was chosen.
Yeah, and I mean, after 34 years, you have been the first German here.
Yeah, that's true. It has been a while.
That was really cool. And Rasmus Swain accompanied you here in Cyprus. How important was that support for you? Because it's also something else that if you go alone or with your team, and before the FIDE candidates, you were alone. I read about this, and I listened to some YouTube videos also already. So how was it the first time for you in a team?
Yeah, I mean, it was different, but like at this big stage in the candidates, everybody has somebody with them there, like some second. Like it's like if you have a strong player working for you for such a tournament in chess, it's usually called a second. And yeah, I mean, everybody has somebody here, and yeah, I mean, the tournament was like 3 weeks long or something. So yeah, there was lots of time, and if you don't have anybody there, it might not be ideal. So yeah. I mean, it was good that Rasmus was there with me. I mean, I know him since we were childs because we are like born in the same year, and we've been both in the same like German group of talents. So yeah, I've known him for forever. So yeah, it was nice.
But he was not from your town, no?
No, he's not from my town. I mean, but okay, I know him since. I mean, we played already in under 10 German championships, and I guess I really got to know him when this Prinzengruppe started, which was like a group of talents we had in German chess. But yeah, like I mean, pretty much around 10 or whatever, we got to know each other. So yeah.
And how was this Prinzengruppe? Because I heard also about this in one of these YouTube interviews, and I was really interested in because I contacted you also because I heard about that you, how do you say in English, skip a grade. So in school you were so good that it was possible to skip one grade. And the Princeton group, I think it was something like for me Mentor, the high gifted association, because it was so in one of the YouTube videos there was also a photo of those people, and they were all looking very interested in chess and all a little bit nerdy, in a positive way nerdy, I mean. So how was it for you to be in this group?
I mean, it was really good, and we were lucky in the sense that we had like quite a few German players more or less in the same age range, which are all pretty talented and all more or less around the same level. And of course, it's easier to like study chess and stick with chess if you have like people in your age who are also like doing the same. It's better, of course. And yeah, I think like on one hand you build friendships with everybody, and I mean we're all still very much in the chess world and we all know each other very well, and also I mean also there's some like competition between each other, so like you see one person like getting better and you feel like, okay, I can also catch up, so like I guess it also drives everybody a bit, which I think is good. So
Yeah. So, and how was it before you went to the Princeton group? Did you have also sometimes problems in school with other people because perhaps they didn't understand you, or because they were not interested in chess, because chess is not something like football, it's not so common?
no, I mean chess was, of course, especially when I was young, it was very much a nerdy game, but I mean I
Yes.
never had any issues at school, like everything was fine, but of course everybody knew that I'm like the chess player, but yeah, it wasn't, I mean I never had any bad experiences or whatever, so that was all good.
So, in fact, school time was do you remember school at a good time, as a good time in your life?
Yeah, I think so, especially in hindsight. Like when you're still that young and you're going to school, you feel like, oh, it's so long and you learn all this stuff. But yeah, in hindsight, it's actually the easiest time of your life when you just have to go to school. I mean, usually, not always, but yeah, it was fine. I mean, of course, I was combining school with playing lots of chess, so like oftentimes I had to get some like, I'm not sure how to say it in English, basically vacation from school. Like I needed to ask like school director, can I play this tournament?
Ah,
Like, I don't know, World Youth Championships? Because I mean all the chess tournaments of course didn't have in mind like German school time. So yeah. Like I had lots of hours I was kind of missing from school lessons because I was busy going to some chess tournaments. So yeah, it wasn't all that easy, but it was always working well. And luckily, school director was also pretty much generous with saying like, that's fine, you can be like away for 2 weeks and stuff like that.
wow. But that means that you have been a long time missing the school, and even then, it was possible for you to skip a grade.
I mean, I went from second to third grade. In that age, it wasn't like I was skipping lots of school because of chess. This was more like when I was like in higher school, like not in primary school, because in primary school I was also playing chess, but not skipping classes because of that. So I'm sorry
Ah,
if that got mixed up. Like yeah, when I went from second to third grade, I was already playing chess, but obviously not on such a level that I needed to skip lots of classes or anything.
so you think if you have would have skipped a grade after in higher classes, it would have been more difficult.
I guess so. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but I guess also usually when people skip a class, it's usually like an earlier one and not. But I have no experience. Maybe it's also common to skip like from seventh to eighth grade or something. But yeah, for me it was from second to third. So.
Yeah, cool. So my YouTube channel is about mainly about ADHD, giftedness, and autism, and mostly also in work. So did you ever do an IQ test?
No, I've never done it, so
No.
I
Okay.
have no clue what my IQ is.
Because it's really interesting that a lot of high gifted people are also interested in chess. I think because it's a very, it's a brain sport. So people who are thinking in a very logical way, it's clear that they love brain sport. So, and for example, if I told in my association mentor about you, that I will have an interview with you. There were a lot of people interested in, and some also sent me some of these questions that I will ask you now. And it's also very interesting to see how it grows in Germany. This knowledge about high gifted children. And I think for a lot of high gifted children, you're also an example, because you did what you really want to do, you know. Because I think so. I'm not sure. Perhaps I pretend also this, because we will know more about this now. But yeah, that's very interesting to know. How did you come to chess? What was the beginning of this?
I mean, I came to chess because my dad played chess and also my older sisters played chess. So for me, it was like just very easy growing up and seeing like my family playing chess. I was obviously also interested in learning it. And my dad is a pretty decent chess player. So yeah, he could already teach me lots of openings. So I basically had an easy start into chess, if I can call it that way.
And is it your only sister, or do you have other brothers and sisters?
I have 3 older sisters, so...
Three older sisters.
3 older sisters, but only 2 really stuck with chess. Like I mean, all 3 tried chess, but one of them didn't enjoy it too much, and 2 of them also played lots of chess, especially in their childhood.
Wow, that's interesting. And what do you remember most vividly from your childhood and teenage years?
In general, or about chess, or is it just a very general question?
I mean, of course, chess is also interesting, but because you were talking already a lot about chess in all your interviews, it would be also interesting to know about your childhood in general.
I mean,
and you told you were also playing football, right?
I mean, I was playing football like when I was very young, like maybe 8 or 9. My parents signed me up to like classes, but I didn't enjoy it too much. I guess I played for 1 season, but I didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah,
so.
I was also surprised when I heard this in one of
No,
your
it's
interviews.
it's just my parents wanted to like let me try out stuff. Like I mean, what I also did, I played the drums for quite many years actually. This I enjoyed, but yeah, football I tried and I didn't enjoy it too much. Like I was always more enjoying brain sports than physical sports.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the most of high gifted people that I know who like brain sport, they don't really like football. Not all of them, but the most of them. So that's why I was a little bit surprised when I heard it in one of your videos.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure that this was some information in some of the videos, but yeah, it was for a very, very short time. Basically, my parents just like offered me I can try it out, and okay, I saw I didn't like it too much, and that was it.
Yeah. So, what is your the answer of your question? What do you remember most vividly from your childhood and teenage years?
That's, to be honest, an extremely tough question. Like it's not very easy to pinpoint exactly one thing. Like this is, yeah, I'm struggling to come up with a good answer right now.
Doesn't matter, so that's also okay.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
yeah. I'm not sure I have a good answer. Maybe at some point I will think of something and can still answer, but
Yeah,
right
of
now,
course.
like nothing very, very special comes to mind. So.
Yeah. And what did growing up in a chess family teach you about ambition and support?
No, I mean, obviously, I'm very lucky with the fact that my parents always supported me with playing chess, because first of all it meant like they had to put lots of money into it, because traveling like especially if you imagine some of the World Youth Championships, you travel here. Especially when I'm very young, my dad also traveled with me because I was just too small to travel like to, I don't know. I mean, I played in Brazil or stuff, and it's just very far if you're still very young. So basically, you need the hotel costs, flight costs, and like hotel costs for 2 weeks or something, because those tournaments are usually very long. So I mean, yeah, obviously, I'm very lucky that I had the support from my parents, like both financially, but also that like my dad basically coached me and also yeah spent his time on like accompanying me to tournaments. So yeah, I'm very very grateful and happy about support from from my family. I always got, which
Yeah, I
I think
imagine.
is very very important if you're wanting to become good at something like chess. I mean, it's obviously also possible other ways, but of course it helps a lot if you can get such a support. So yeah, I'm very happy for that.
Yeah. What helped you as a child to cope with the pressure you face today?
I'm not sure if there's a special thing, but it's pretty much like every chess game is some sort of pressure, and I just got into it very early on, so I just got used to it. Like, I mean, as a child, I also started playing like some championships, and yes, like last rounds can be decisive, but I think it's something I just grew up into and got used to. It's not like I specifically ever trained this, like I ever did something to say, okay, I want to train like how I react under stress or pressure. It just naturally, like, experiences helped, and I think I'm dealing better with it, of course, than when I was a kid.
Yeah. So in fact, I think it was already an answer also on this question: where did you learn to handle pressure? But in fact, it was already an answer, no?
Yeah, I guess it's just basically learned from experience of having these situations. And
Yeah. And I heard also in one of the videos where your parents were interviewed that in fact at home you didn't have a lot of pressure. But do you think, because for example Judith Polgar was forced by her father to play chess, do you think it helps to do this pressure as a parent? So I'm very skeptical about this, but what is your opinion?
I'm also very skeptical of that, and I'm also very, very happy and thankful that my parents didn't put any pressure. Like, I never ever had the feeling like I'm raised to be a chess professional. Like, it was just a hobby for me, and I enjoyed doing it. And I also for a very long time didn't even consider ever becoming professional. So yeah, I never got real pressure from my parents, and I think that's, to be honest, very good, because I think it's tougher to cope with it as a kid if you can feel pressure coming from your parents and expecting some results. I don't really think it's great.
I'm sorry, they are mixing something and it's a little bit loud now. So the last question about the childhood, what would your 16-year-old self want to know about you today? So if you have the possibility to go back, what do you think, what would the 16-year-old Matthias would have known?
Yeah, I guess at that age I was probably wondering what I'm going to do, like, for a living, basically. So I guess he would be asking lots of questions, like how is it to be actually just playing chess, and is it enough? Is it fulfilling enough? Like, are you feeling that's like a good way to spend your time? So
And what would you answer as a adult that you are now to this 16-year-old child?
I mean, for now
Would
I'm
you
very
say
happy.
do it again or be careful?
I mean, for now, I'm very happy with everything, how it's been going, but obviously, like, it's also depending a lot on like specific results. Like, I never ever expected to qualify for the candidates before I qualified, and obviously it's a huge difference. So it's very hard to say, but for now, I'm happy with like with how I managed everything.
And when you qualified for it, how was it? Was it that you really realized it, or was it more in the way of imposter syndrome? that you were thinking, oh no, in fact, it couldn't be, it was a failure, they put only my name on it?
No, yeah, it actually took a bit of time for me to fully realize I actually qualified. I was playing a great tournament, and obviously I understood that, but before the very last round, I didn't even really think about qualifying, and only in the very last round I knew, okay, if I make a draw now, I have extremely good chances to qualify. It's not guaranteed, but I have very good chances. But even after my game was finished, it wasn't like 100% clear if I qualify or not, because some other games were still going on. So even then, it wasn't like 100%. I just knew I played a very, very good tournament, but I didn't know if it's enough. So it was a weird feeling, because I at some point then, when I was back in my hotel room, I got a message that like the game is already ended and I qualified. So that's basically the moment I knew I qualified, but it didn't feel like a big moment of success, because I was just alone in my room and like I just received a text message. So but yeah, like obviously I understood I qualified, but yeah, I think it took a few days or a week to like really sink in. And yeah.
Because this was very interesting in some YouTube videos when I listened to Vi Charlie, and I met Vi Charlie also here. So she was talking about this, that when she won the FIDE candidate, she got, in fact, you can call it, I think, imposter syndrome. And this is very typical also for high gifted people, that they often think it's not possible that I achieved this. It's not me, it's they got a failure. They only wrote my name there. And perhaps you can also what would you suggest people who have those imposter syndromes?
I mean, I'm not sure if it's my place to suggest anything to people with such a thing. Yeah, not 100% sure. I don't think I experienced something like an imposter syndrome at that point. I just felt like, obviously I just objectively very clearly felt I am obviously not one of the players who would ever be expected to qualify here. So I understood that, but it wasn't like I was experiencing an imposter syndrome exactly. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have any advice, to be honest. Like, probably, yeah, you just need to understand that this is like just the truth and it happened, and I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I can give advice.
Okay. And the path to become a professional, when did chess become more than just a passion for you? So you told me already as a child you were in Brazil and so on. So what would you say, is it possible for you to say one date when you got it that it's more than only a hobby?
I mean, it was pretty much always a big part of my life, because, yeah, as I said, even like when I was still in school, I was traveling a lot for chess, and so it always felt like playing chess was a big part of my life. And after I finished school, there was 1 year where I played like only 1 year of chess and didn't do anything else. But then I went studying, because I still wasn't sure like if like chess is what I want to do. So I went studying, and yeah, I mean, I guess the day I really only focused on chess was after I finished my master's thesis. But yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't feeling like this is the day like I fully become professional, but it was, I guess, the day where I didn't do anything else besides chess. So I guess I have to pick that.
Oh, wow. So in fact, only after your studies.
Yeah, I mean, while I was studying, I was
That's
taking
late.
chess. Yeah, I guess. Like, while I was studying, I was taking chess extremely seriously, and I always said to myself, okay, if there's like a very big tournament invitation which I feel I want to play, it has like higher priority than maybe an exam or something. So,
Yeah.
I will play the tournament, even if it means like, okay, I have to take this exam at a later point or something. But yeah, I was still studying, so it wasn't like my only priority in life at that point. So yeah, technically only after studying it, I fully became a professional. But I was taking it extremely seriously also back then. It already was probably highest priority of stuff I was doing, but yeah, just not the only priority.
Yeah. Um, And do you make a full-time living from chess today? Or do you give lessons? Do you give courses on the side? Or do you still work in the field of mathematics?
No, I'm only earning a living by playing chess. So I don't do coaching. I don't have any other side jobs. So right now I'm happy. I'm living from just playing chess.
Yeah.
But obviously, like even also chess is a sports, and you can't keep your level for forever. So yeah, I'm still having to figure out what like I'm doing for the rest of my life, because yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Like I can just by playing, I can it's enough for life. So
Yeah.
but right now I can live very decently just off playing chess.
That's really cool. And what would you give as advice for younger people who also want to to live from their hobby? Because, for example, Michael Schumacher, he did a education before he started to become a professional Formula One driver, and you also did your study. So, do you think it's good to have something in the hand to survive, or would you say also it's also sometimes good to take a risk? I mean, you told already in some videos that you are not too risky. You are not a risky person. But would you say that sometimes perhaps it's better in life to be risky and to start also with to do something professional? Doesn't matter if it's chess or Formula One or whatever, without any education or study.
I mean, yeah, as you figured out from some other interviews, I'm personally not too risky in that way. Like I would always would try at least. I mean, it's tough to make a completely objective call whether it makes sense to become a professional or not, but I always would try to view it as objectively as I can and like think about whether it makes sense financially, whether it will work out. But obviously, yeah, it could be high risk, high reward if you just like say, okay, I don't want to do anything else. I want to become professional. Like if it works out, it's probably amazing, but you have no guarantee that it works out, I guess. So yeah, I'm more drawn to trying to be objective. I understand I can't be 100% objective because obviously, like I would love to just follow my hobby, and it worked out for now. So that's great, but yeah, I would still try to make it as objective as possible. If you feel like there's just no good chances to earn enough and it doesn't really make sense, then but yeah, everybody is different, and I'm pretty sure there are also plenty of people who would enjoy trying to take a bit more risk and just follow their passion, which yeah, I mean, everybody is different. So
I mean, me, for example, I took also the risk. I came to Cyprus all alone, and I do also what I want to do now instead of following what I studied. I'm not a teacher anymore, for example. Dirk, also a member of the association Mensa, he asked, out of 100 highly motivated children with outstanding training opportunities and a secure family and financial environment, how many will become international masters and how many will become grandmasters? So what would you suppose? It's only to guess.
yeah, it's extremely tough to say, but yeah, it's so hard to say. For me, I mean, I think everybody, if they really want and put enough time into chess, they can reach a certain level for sure. Like you can just by investing lots of time, and if you also have like great conditions, you can become a great player if you enjoy. But I mean, regarding IM and GM, I just have no clue if it's actually just 100 out of 100 who could achieve that or not. I'm really not sure, like because like in life obviously not everybody has like same conditions at the start, and like it's very tough to make such an experiment. But it would be very interesting to me actually if it's possible for everybody, or if some people, if you need a specific talent for chess. But I mean, I also don't know. It would be very curious for me as well, but like if I would make any guess, it would be just completely random. Like I have just no clue. It would be as if you just asked me to say a number between 1 and 100. I just don't know.
Yeah. And so for training and performance development for other people, what training methods and tools can fundamentally help anyone improve?
I mean, in general, chess is rewarding the time you put in. Like if you because it's also lots of pattern recognition and stuff. So the more time you put in, the better you'll get at some point. I mean, obviously some methods help a bit more than others, but the main thing is just putting time into it and enjoying the process. But obviously times have changed a lot. Like nowadays, like with AI, like computers are so strong at chess that you basically have this perfect helper. Like you can always get the truth about any position nowadays, which wasn't the case like 20-30 years ago. Like people sometimes had no clue how to objectively evaluate a position. So that changed a lot. So I guess, I mean, it's also in general for society it changes with AI, but yeah, like I guess nowadays people also have to figure out how much AI is helping, but also how much you have to still try. I mean, especially if you want to get good at chess, you still need to learn like just thinking about positions, solving puzzles on your own. Like you can't get good by just looking at the computer, obviously, but it's still a tool which can help you a lot, because you can also learn from that. Like you can see what are the best moves. So it's, I mean, nowadays it's also like, I guess the main point actually in improving is like finding a good balance on how to use like the help of the computer while training and when also not. Like you also need to learn that, I mean, after all, when you sit at the board, you're on your own. So you need to learn how to play chess, and you need lots of stuff, but yeah.
In fact, you need the AHI, the human intelligence, to use the AI also in the right way.
Yeah, I think you just need to balance it well. And
because there are also studies now that the people are getting even more stupid because of the AI, because more and more people don't think themselves anymore about AI. And this is something that I find very difficult and strange, because in fact you need HI to use the AI. I mean, I see it with my own. If I give the wrong prompt, he's never giving me the right answer. So I need a little bit HI to use the AI. And I mean, also you told me 30 years ago, but in fact 30 years ago there were also already AI, only that I don't think there were special AI for chess learning, training, and so on. Because the first AI was in 1966 developed, the first AI bot.
Yeah, when I said 30 years ago, like obviously now I think about, I guess it was 1997 when like it was the first time a chess computer actually beat the current world champion. So we were
wow,
at a level
1977 already?
Yeah, 1997, the year I was born. I guess there was a chess computer beating Kasparov, who was current world champion at that point. So around that time, we were at a time where engines were like on the same level as the best players. They weren't much better yet, but they were already on the same level. So when I said, I mean, you still didn't have like the objective truth. It was just like they were as good as the best human players, but that obviously doesn't mean they like just know exactly how to evaluate a position. It was just they were also good at chess. But nowadays, pretty much if you have strong hardware and you use the newest engines, it pretty much gives you more or less the complete truth about the position. There are very, very few so tough positions that engine doesn't immediately give the right evaluation and the best moves. So.
Yeah. And because a lot of high-gifted children, also in Mensa, there were some parents who asked me some questions from their children. So what do you think, what's the best way to teach chess?
I mean, I'm not sure if there's a specific way, but I mean, usually you start learning chess by having somebody teaching you like opening rules, like what is the sense in openings, like how do you start a game more or less decently. Like it's not like you just learn the 30 moves by heart or something, but you just have a general understanding where to put the pieces, what does make sense, and you pretty much go from there on. Like you can study many parts of the game. Like you start a bit with general openings. You can also already study some very basic end games. like some situation where there are not many pieces on the board left, but you like, I mean, there are some end games you should always know. So it's a bit of everything, but I guess best for starters to also have some kind of human teacher. Like it, I guess it's better because still humans can explain you concepts much better. Like if you just, I mean, also if you ask a normal LLM, it doesn't give you all the smart answers about chess normally. Like it sometimes makes weird stuff. So and I mean, like, chess computers are really good at chess, but they don't give like any reasoning or understanding for chess. So I really think, especially at the start, you need some human teacher who explains you a few concepts.
Yeah, and I mean also to get into this community and to know how to start to get into those tournaments and so on. It's best to be a member of a chess club, no? For younger
I
children.
guess. I mean, yeah, like local chess club is still the easiest way. Obviously, nowadays you also have like nowadays I also get to know many people who just learn chess online. Like they just had some online courses or watched some YouTube videos which is of course also a way to get some human knowledge about chess. Like there are lots of strong chess players like publishing some content about chess and stuff. So you can also use that. But I guess it's still the nicer and more common way to just go to a local chess club. Like you'll have people like hopefully also your age, which are also interested in chess. So I think it helps, and it's an easier way to stick with chess.
Yeah. And many highly gifted children are very motivated and persistent, but this can also cause them to put a lot of pressure on themselves. Do you recognize yourself in that description or as a child?
I mean, I also recognize myself more or less still here in the sense that, yeah, I'm extremely unhappy with myself if I lose a game of chess. Like it's it's a special kind of feeling which every chess player I think can relate to, because like you really lose, especially if you lose a classical game, you lose something where you spend hours and it's
Yeah.
just your fault. Like you have nobody else to blame. It's just your own fault that
Yes.
you lost, that your opponent won the game, and it's an extremely frustrating experience. Like no matter, I mean, of course I grew up and as a kid it was tougher to deal with it in a sense, but I'm still extremely unhappy when I lose a game, and every chess player is, especially the stronger you get, the tougher it is, because when you're a bit weaker, sometimes you just play against opponents that much stronger that you feel like, okay, I mean, it happens. Like he's just much better at chess. I learned something. But basically, when you're more or less a top chess player, you start to feel like, okay, like I don't want to lose against anybody. I mean, they might be a tiny bit stronger, but they're not that much stronger that I feel like I should lose. And yeah, it's an extremely frustrating and humbling feeling sometimes to lose classical chess games. So
Yeah. And how do you deal with this, sadness if you lose a game?
I mean, it's a mixture of sadness and frustration. It depends. Like sometimes it's more extremely frustrating. Sometimes I'm just really sad after a bad game. But I mean, in general, I need, if we're talking about classical game, which takes a few hours, and afterwards I also actually need a few hours to fully to fully cope with what has happened, and try to get ready for the next game. Like
Yeah, but
I
are
mean
there,
Hmm.
are you using tools to get away with this sadness? So, for example, are you screaming? Are you going into your room and screaming, or boxing against the wall, or I don't know, something like this?
I mean, not screaming, but yeah, like boxing the wall, or boxing like the table or something. That actually happens a lot with me. Like it's more, yeah, like I mean, as soon as I'm like on my own and like nobody else is around anymore, yeah, I let it a bit out. And also what actually always helps me is just checking my game afterwards, because I can see the engine. I can see, okay, what did I do wrong? And actually it helps a lot if I understand like the points where it went wrong, because even, I mean, sometimes I play a game and I'm not 100% sure where it all went wrong, and it can also
Ah,
help because it starts putting my mind back to thinking about just the chess position, and not so much about why, like the fact that I lost, but more about like what I did wrong. This actually
so
also
in
helps. But
fact, you are looking on the video of your game, and you look what you did wrong. Or
I mean, not at the video of my game. I just like as a chess player, like after the game, I can just open, I don't know, leadchess, chess.com or whatever, and click through my game because there's a live transmission of the board, and I can click through and I can just switch on the engine, which immediately tells me, okay, this was wrong, this was dumb, and like I can see, okay, here I could have played better, and it does help a bit because then at least I have certainty what exactly went wrong. Because sometimes directly after a game, I mean, I'm like, sometimes you know what went wrong and sometimes you know what you've done, but sometimes you also just have no clue why you're suddenly lost. Like sometimes you play a game, it's extremely complicated, and then suddenly you're lost and you're not even 100% sure why. And here it really helps to just check.
And it was really interesting in one video you told that because of the Corona time, because you were sitting alone and there, because no one was seeing you, you got your, you showed more your emotion. And this is now, even if you are now in a round with other people, now in fact you are showing more emotion than before the Corona time. Do you think it's something positive?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if it's positive or negative, but it's more a thing I noticed. But I'm not even sure if it's only for me or if it's just in general with many chess players. I feel like it's getting more and more that people like show very openly their frustration also when they're still at the board. And I think in chess it's also because during COVID times there was lots of online chess, and when you're just sitting at your home, it's very, very easy to just punch the table and be like, oh, it's so ridiculous that I blundered this. And it's much easier to let it out, because when you play like an over the board game and you see your opponent, I mean, obviously you also need to have respect for like the tournament, for the other players and stuff. Like you can't just scream or punch something. Like you need to be, I mean, other people are playing, you need to be quiet, you need to be respectful. So but yeah, I mean, nowadays there are a bit more clips, I guess, than it used to be of people like being so incredibly frustrated. I mean, there was also quite a viral clip of Magnus Carlsen like losing a game against Gukesh and punching the table like at an over-the-board game. So it sometimes happens, but yeah.
And when I was, I think it was downstairs, the room where you played, when I was sitting there and looking when you played, you were also, how do you call it in German, in English, cave with a knee, mit dem Bein wackeln.
Yeah.
How do you say in English?
Legs or whatever.
Shaking, shaking your legs. What did help you this? So why did you do this? Is it a way to deal with the pressure, or did you do it without recognizing it?
Yeah, normally I do it without recognizing it at all. Like it's just a habit that creeped in, and I've already had it as a kid. Like when I'm very focused and suddenly I just start doing it, and I normally don't even think about it or notice it. And I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but yeah, it's just a habit that stuck with me. And usually I don't notice it at all until maybe sometimes, like, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes like some other player is annoyed by that and actually tells me like, could you stop doing that? And then I'm only realizing, oh wait, I'm actually like shaking a bit. And especially sometimes when you have like, maybe when you're playing at tables which are not extremely stable or stuff, it can shake a bit. So yeah, that's of course disturbing. So it makes sense, but I don't do it like consciously, like it just happens.
That's interesting, because I was asking me this when I saw you, and there was another 14 years old guy in England. I don't remember in which country, but he did always, during the chess, he always did like this, like those.
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean.
It's a mental problem. I forgot the name. Hospitality. No, something like this it's called in the medicine, when the people are doing like this. Often there are also autistic people. And I was thinking the same when you did this. I was thinking, does it help him to get more focused, or?
No, I mean, I think also especially it happens more to players who are in time trouble. So I think it's also the stress and the nervousness and stuff makes people like, I don't know, move more or shake more. I guess it's just a way of the body to deal with all the stress. That's because especially time trouble phases are extremely stressful for players because lots of stuff is happening. You have to make quick decisions, and it can basically just decide the full game. And yeah, like it's a very stressful period for players. So I guess
Yeah,
many
I
people
imagine.
react in different ways to that.
Of course. And your teacher, Krallmann, said Matthias is an incredibly tenacious defender and has nerves of steel. Would you say you are also stubborn? Dickkopf? Bist du ein Dickkopf? Stubborn?
Yeah, I think I'm actually very, very stubborn. Like I love sticking with the same openings. Like I love trying to prove, okay, this actually works. Like I'm in that sense quite a stubborn person. Like also in chess. So I guess yeah, that is true.
And I mean, stubborn, it's more, in fact, a negative connotation. It has a negative connotation. But would you say that this character of you, that you are stubborn, is also advantage for you with your success?
I'm not sure. I think in some way your personality and stuff also reflects your chess playing style in some ways. So
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, everybody has a different style. I'm not sure that especially helps me or something, but it's just like how I play usually. So I mean, yeah, especially I'm also very stubborn. I just don't want to lose at chess. Like if I understand I'm lost, I'll try absolutely everything I can and try my best to defend this position. Like I just absolutely hate losing. So normally when I understand I'm in a very bad or maybe even lost position, I'll just actually try my absolute best to somehow survive that game. And,
if you tell me this, I don't know if you see the film, The Knives of the Coconut. Do you know Die Ritter der Kokosnuss? From
I guess I've heard, but I've never seen. So.
And there was in the middle of the film there was this knife who got they cut his arms, his legs, and he was still saying, "No, I don't give up, I don't give up."
Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting because a lot of highly gifted children are also stubborn, and a lot of parents are getting crazy with those children. But I always tell those parents that in fact it has also a very positive side, because if they are getting older, that means that they are not giving up so fast. Because if you are stubborn, of course, for the parents, it's always very hard to have a stubborn child. But you know that if he's getting older, that can help also for more success.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's at least to a certain degree. Like obviously, you still need to understand when you're wrong and like when you should change something. But yeah, to a degree,
right.
I guess it can also help.
And do you know this problem that you start with a lot of things, but you're never finishing something?
Actually not. Normally,
No?
normally, like it takes a while for me to actually like start something new or do something. But when I do, I usually put like lots of. I mean, I invest lots of time into it
To
like,
finish it.
Yeah. Usually when. I mean, but I'm also very good at procrastinating. If I need to do something, I'll just push it further and further away. But okay, at some point, I usually realize I need to do a certain thing, and then I'll do it.
So how do you deal with the procrastination? So what is your trick how to fight against the procrastination?
I mean, I don't really have any good trick. Somehow I guess it's just like I never really experienced any real issue with it. Like it was always there, and especially when I was writing bachelor's thesis or some stuff, like I just took so much time until I really started, but it was always still enough for me to actually finish everything in time, and that I'm more or less satisfied with the result. But with such with such stuff, I would always push it somehow away because I feel like, it's such a big stuff, and okay, I'll do it tomorrow, and then yeah, somehow I keep doing that until I realize, wait a second, I don't have actually so much time to finish that, and I need to do it. So okay, I need to sit down, and okay, once I sit down, I can also just work the full day on stuff. Like I can just sit down and do, I don't know, 15 hours a day and work on that.
Wow.
It's fine, but I mean,
And are you? Yeah, finish your sentence.
no, but I mean, like, and yeah, in the start, I just don't do anything because I'm procrastinating it. So yeah, and I'm always frustrated with myself why I push this away. So.
And do you know also the situation that you are working so much that you are forgetting that you have to eat or to drink?
Actually, no, I don't think I ever had that problem. I drink a
No?
lot, and
Okay.
I also I do feel hunger. Like if I'm hungry, I'll eat something. But
Okay.
it might be that I eat something and try to keep working. Like I try to keep doing what I'm doing, but yeah, I'll still try to take care of that.
And you said in one video you have to grow into tasks. How do you handle it when a task seems too big at first?
Well, okay, I'm not sure from which interview that is, but yeah, it's more like, yeah, obviously I didn't expect to qualify for the candidates, so this was also a new task for me in a sense. I needed to do some stuff differently. Because yeah, I needed seconds for that. I needed to basically have people working for me for that event, which is different because I didn't have that before. But I mean, in that case, it's I just started doing things and hoped I didn't do them too badly. Of course, I also asked like one or two people for advice on stuff, but mainly I just tried doing it, and I think it worked more or less fine. For sure not perfect. Like there are always things you could improve on, but I mean, it's a learning experience when you do some new task, and you just, I mean, at least I just try to do my best and hope that's enough.
Okay. And do you often learn more from mistakes than from getting the best option right away?
I mean, in general, yeah, I guess you learn more from mistakes, but also mistakes are so frustrating. So it's like, but usually that's also why they stick much more in my head. Like a mistake, I can remember for a very long time. If I found some great move, I'll usually forget quite quickly because I just think, okay, that should be the case. I should find the good move, but the mistake will stick in my head for quite a long while because I remember, this I did wrong. And
but that's why I'm asking you this, because of course in chess it's it's frustrating if you do a failure. But on the other side, for example, my book is the title "Failure as a Business Accelerator." And also, I mean, I studied also mathematics, and you know the process of elimination play in your thinking. That, and for example, mastermind. So I think that the game Mastermind, I don't know if you know it, it's also very mathematically, because you have really, in fact, if you didn't have anything right in Mastermind, any color, any position, in fact, that's the best way. Because if you don't have any color right and no color on the right position, you know directly where it should not be. And in fact, I saw in life that always by failure, you are learning much more than if everything is always getting the right way.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like failures help you understand much more what you did wrong, and like sometimes you can approach a thing wrong, but it still works out, and you don't really learn anything from that because you just you don't even know that you did something, that you might have done something wrong and just got a bit lucky with something. So I feel like failure actually has a good learning effect normally.
Yeah. I try to figure out the most important questions now because I see I have too much questions.
Okay.
And the time is running. Did you used to bottle up your anger a lot? I asked you already, no?
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not
we were
specifically
talking.
that, but
No, but didn't we talk
I mean,
about
we were
this
talking
because of
about
the
like dealing with frustration and
Corona?
stuff.
Yeah,
So
and after Corona time and so on.
yeah, I guess. But yeah, normally during like an over the board game, you have to bottle up your anger because you still need to focus. Like you might be
Yes.
frustrated with something, but the game keeps going. I mean, it
Yeah,
keeps
that's a
going
problem.
until you resign. So like you have to still try to focus even though you're upset with yourself about something. Like you have to keep refocusing until the game is finally over, and then you can let everything out because like game is over. But
Yeah. And are there any players that you personally can't stand?
that's a good question. Not too much, to be
It's not coming from me, this question.
okay. No, I mean, to be honest, no, I mean, of course, I have like people who I like talk more with and who I'm like more happy to talk with. Like
Yeah.
that's obviously, but I don't think there's a player who I can't play. I mean, there are chess players where I just feel like I always do badly against them somehow, and that's also frustrating. But that doesn't I dislike them or something. It's just like I can't deal with their style of playing chess as well as maybe against other people. But yeah, no, I don't think there's any player I can't stand. So
And has there ever been a player that you absolutely wanted to meet and to play against? So, for example, I saw that you played against Vishy Anand. That was also already here on my YouTube interview. So, how was it to play against him, or is there any other icon also for you that you wanted to play with, and how was it when you played with?
yeah, I mean, for me growing up, like when I was starting to seriously also follow chess, Magnus Carlsen was the best player. So for me, that was the person I wanted to play against, just because he's clearly the strongest player. Like at the time while I was growing, he was clearly the strongest player. But of
Yeah.
course, they're also playing against people like Vishy. I mean, he's such a legend, and he also is such an amazingly strong player. So yeah, I mean, such
And you
games, yeah,
even
it's
won against him, no? When you played?
yeah, once. I mean, I played lots of games against him. Yeah, once I won, but I also lost once, and I guess we drew at least once. So I guess it's an even score by now. But yeah, no, I mean
And
he's
and your other idol, did you also play against him?
yeah, against Magnus I also got some games in. So I mean, also once you play against these people, you start to understand they're also just human chess players. Like they
Yeah.
are very very good, but they also do make mistakes. They also, I mean, they're better than me usually, but they also have some kind of weaknesses, so it's not absolutely impossible to play them. So
Yeah.
it usually helps just playing against such players.
Yes, of course. But how was it for you? Because as a child, you were looking at them, wow, and then you played against them. So how was this experience?
Yeah, especially my first game against Magnus was tough for me because it was the first super tournament I played. So like the first incredibly strong tournament I played where I just got a top player every single game. And then exactly first round I was playing Magnus, and it was on a big stage. It was at the Grenke Open. And yeah, I was extremely nervous, and I also played much worse than I normally do. I spent way too much time because I was questioning myself on every move. But I guess it's also very lucky for me that I survived this game with a draw because I was lost, and it gave me the feeling, yeah, they're extremely good, but they are also not perfect at chess. So like it's possible to play. I mean, obviously he's much better than me, but it's still possible to play against him. So
And Ihor Kovalenko from Ukraine, he said now, because he was 4 years in the war, and he said, I played chess to remain human. What does this statement mean to you when you think about war? Does chess make you more mentally resilient? So, what do you think? What helps chess in normal life? How does it support you in normal life?
okay, I mean, obviously I can't talk about war aspects because luckily for me I never had to experience that myself.
No,
So
of course, no
yeah.
war. But I mean, what do you think? Is it helping you to get mentally more strong, for example?
No, in some regards, for sure, it helps that I play chess. I also felt like it really, really helped with writing exams because I'm used to situations where I need to prepare for something and then sit there for a few hours on my own and produce the best result I can. So I'm used to such situations. So I think especially for doing exams, it helped a lot. But yeah, I mean, I do think it helps in everyday life in some sense. Like I'm used to sometimes not being too convinced by my opinions. Like sometimes I can question myself and understand that I might be wrong or something. So yeah, I do think it helps in some
Okay.
aspects.
Because, for example, Mr. Tornaritis, the president of the Chess Federation here in Cyprus, that gave also a speech on the last evening here, he, for example, would like to introduce chess as a school subject. Do you think this could help foster political and strategic thinking by the children?
Yeah, I mean, for sure it can't hurt normally. So, I mean, I'm not sure it should be a subject or not, but I'm pretty sure it won't hurt at all, and maybe it helps the kids. So, I
Yeah.
mean, in some aspects at least. So, sure, why not?
What do you think children can learn from playing chess?
I mean,
For example, strategic thinking, or what do you think?
yeah, strategic thinking, also thinking by yourself and coming up with a plan and stuff, and also being used to situations where you're on your own and you can't you can't just sit there and ask AI like what is
Yes.
this, what is that. So you learn a bit more to think by yourself, hopefully. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an important skill to have.
And does chess tend to promote long-term thinking, discipline, or dealing with consequences?
I mean, yeah, in a sense, you deal with consequences. Like like at some point, you're forced to make decisions in chess, and you have to live with those decisions, even if they lead to a bad result. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess you could say that.
So you think chess can help children cope better with decisions and mistakes?
I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And what do you think? How important is the social environment for young talents?
Yeah, because chess can be, in a sense, a very lonely sport because during the game you sit on your own and you can't even talk to anybody normally, and and you sit there for hours potentially, and
Yes.
and also when you work on chess, very often you're working alone at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
you might be sitting in front of a computer or in front of the board, but you're basically on your own. So yeah, it's very, very important to also have some other chess players you can talk to, you can socialize with, because yeah, it can be quite a lonely sport in that sense.
Yeah. Simon Agdestein, or Agdestein, I don't know how to pronounce him, says that in sports, it's not just technical training that counts, but above all the right environment in which talents can develop individually. How important was your environment to you? So you told already about your parents, that you are very thankful how they supported you. And what do you think about the rest of the environment? For example, friends and so on, and also Prinzengruppe. I think it was also part of your environment. So what do you think? How important is the right environment?
Yeah, I think it's very important, but yeah, I also think we basically talked about the main aspects of my environment. Like on one side, my family who supported me, and on the other side, also having this Prinzengruppe, having these other guys I'm friends with, and they're also the same age. They also play chess on the same level. So yeah, I think it's very important to have a good environment. And yeah, I think we already touched like basically main aspects of my environment when I was a
Yeah,
chess player.
yeah. And for me, because I also studied mathematics, it's very interesting to know what was your motivation to study mathematics. Was there also a question about chess, that you thought to understand chess better if you know more about mathematics, or or does mathematics and chess doesn't have to do anything with each other, in your opinion?
I mean, it doesn't have to do too much directly with each other, but obviously there's some correlation that usually people who enjoy like mathematics or physics or stuff might also enjoy chess. Like there's some correlation, but I don't think there's too much of an overlap. It's just when studying, it was just I was thinking, what do I want to study, and it was one of my main options, and I always enjoyed mathematics. I mean, of course, school mathematics is very, very different to university one, but still, I was interested. So yeah, I just wanted to try it out, and I did quite enjoy it. So I just stuck with it.
Yeah. So it was in fact only because you were interested in mathematics, not because of a job, of a future job, or something else.
Yeah, I didn't get into it with like specific job ambitions. I basically wanted to do chess, and in the meanwhile study something I'm interested in, but not in the sense that I was like, okay, this is going to be my career, like I'm going to do this job after I finish my degree. I never went into it like that. I just wanted to study something I'm interested in.
Yeah. And did you also want to better understand chess engines through that? Or do you think it didn't help you to be better in mathematics?
Yeah, I guess it just didn't really help. I mean, for chess engines, it's probably not exactly mathematics that you need to understand. So yeah, but yeah, it also wasn't my ambition to understand that better.
Yeah. And which skills will remain important for human chess players, even in the age of AI?
I mean, pretty much all the skills you need as a chess player, because at the end of the day, you sit there without having the AI. So
you think there's no difference between in former times and now?
No, I mean, nowadays you just have more knowledge about chess. Like you know a bit more, and also like some more end games are solved, which might have not been solved back in the days. So you have a broader knowledge. You know more stuff. But I mean, hopefully you don't have any access to like AI or something during the game. So normally, yeah, you're just sitting there on your own, and I mean the skills you need remain the same. It's just that everybody knows more about chess in general. Like people know much more about openings and other stuff. Basically, as stronger the engine gets, the more people know about the game itself. So just the competition gets tougher. But I mean, the skills you need are still the same. Like you need to calculate well when you sit at the board. You need to know some openings, some end games. It's just all the same skills.
Yeah. To get time by time to the end, I mean, I would like to talk with you about neurodiversity and about high gifted people and how to support. And I'm also very interested about this crowdfunding action, what you did. And do you think that in Germany there's not enough support for chess players?
I mean, there is not normally a huge amount of support for chess players, but it's a matter of question if I think there should be more. To be honest, I mean, obviously, being a chess player, yeah, it would be great if there's more support, but I'm not sure if, as a society, we need more support into chess. So I'm not 100% sure what to say, but yeah, obviously, as a player, I'd appreciate if there's more support in general, because it helps. But I mean, if it helps if you want to become a professional player, but yeah, I don't know. What was the exact question?
When I was talking with Vaishali from India and with some other chess players here in the hotel, I got the feeling that in other countries it's much more, there are much more support than in Germany.
Yeah, especially in some of the Asian countries like India, Uzbekistan are like the first two countries that come to mind where there's huge amounts of support. Like the top players get like a lot of financial support, and they can very easily build a career with chess.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also a bit like these countries want to produce like strong chess players, and they want to make a name through chess. So it's a bit. I don't think we specifically need that in Germany. So it makes sense that in these countries there's more support, and I don't think we can ever have like the same support, simply because in those countries this can like being a top chess player can be your way out. Basically, it can be your way to become like very famous and rich or whatever. And obviously, it's not like that in Germany. So yeah, I mean, it's just very, very different. So
Yeah, you think we can't really compare?
yeah, I think it's very tough to compare like a Western country who is already a more or less big country to like some of the Asian countries who want to put in a lot of money into those sports just to
Yeah.
be recognized through those sports.
And without this crowdfunding action and the support also of the German Chess Federation, would it have been possible for you to take part here at the FIDE Candidates?
I mean, of course, it's always possible to take part. I mean, first of all, I also get a decent prize money from this tournament, so it's not like I have absolutely zero money. But of course, it helps because I can just get basically the people I want to work with me, and I can pay them well through all those funds. So it's just making things much easier because I can offer like a fair salary to those people who help me, and I can also do like training measures without thinking too much about it. And otherwise, I need to think much more like, do I actually need this? Do I actually need like an additional second or not? And I mean, so it helps, of course, a lot if there's like all the support because I can just do the things I want in preparation without thinking too much whether it financially even makes sense to invest because otherwise I need to invest my own money and I need to make the decision, does it make sense to invest this money? Like, will it help improve my performance? But obviously it should normally help a bit. But yeah, so it's good I'm not forced to have to make this decision like, should I do this or that, which could help but might not benefit enough.
So the 90,000 euro that you got by the support, you are using it mostly for getting coaching and so on, and for improve your own, or also for marketing, or to give us an impression for what as a chess player you need this money.
I mean, main part of this money went as salaries for my seconds, which does make some sense because you need some people basically working non-stop for you during the tournament who basically work for like 3 weeks non-stop for you, which obviously they should be paid quite some salary for that. And I mean, it's very important to have those people working for you because they can. I mean, I'm already busy with playing, so it helps if people help me with preparation. Like, they just send me files I need to click through, and I don't need to put my energy into preparing myself for every single game. So that helps. Also, quite some of the money went just into money for training camps or stuff. So like if we meet for a training camp, like we can just take some hotel or something, and everything is paid in that sense. And also the one other very important aspect is for hardware, because you need a very strong engine. Yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference if you run like the best engines on just a normal computer or like on a really, really good computer. And I mean, there are different approaches, like either to get like one extremely strong computer which you can always use, which costs quite a lot, or you can pay basically for some cloud services which offer like this hardware. But in either sense, you also need some money for that, because everybody is working with like extremely strong engines. And I mean, for preparation, it's still very important to also have this ability. So also some money goes for that. And yeah, these are pretty much the main aspects where the money went into.
Yeah, and wait. So in fact, what I'm also very interested in, because on the chess competition here in Cyprus, there was also a couple, the guy who won and one of the girls. So was one of your girlfriends, was it also a chess player, or how is it in your personal life?
I mean, I'm not talking too much about my personal life in general, but I can say in that regard, it's very, very common that chess players date other chess players, simply because as a chess player, this is such a huge part of your life, and it's obviously better if you have some person you can discuss that with. And like if some some other person is not a chess player, sometimes it's very hard to understand how a chess player feels and what they're thinking about a lot. So it's very, very common that chess players date other chess players.
Okay, it's very interesting to know this. And I mean, chess is a very, it's not like football, how I told at the beginning. And you're also, in a positive way, looking nerdy. So, because I'm working with neurodivergent people, a lot of them often feel different. So, and for some of them, it's also creating problems. So, what would you say to such people about their way of thinking? So, what would you suggest if you feel different, how to deal with it in life?
I mean, I'm really not sure if I'm in the place to tell people how to deal with. I mean, obviously, yeah, I assume it's very, very tough if you feel like really different. But on the other hand, I think sometimes it's important to still like do what you feel is right, to do what you enjoy, and to try to not think too much about what other people think of you. But it's always easier said than done. Like, it's still very human to think about how other people might think about you. So
Yeah.
it's tough.
But I think you're a very good example for this, because you did what was your hobby, what you really liked. So I think you're a good example for what you told.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And what unique strange can people with ADHD, autism, or giftedness bring to chess or strategic professions?
You mean what those people has as a strength for chess, or?
Yeah, what do you think if you also think about you, about your logical thinking and so on?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It's
Okay,
not like
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I ever thought too
You
much
don't have
about
to.
it.
You don't have to answer on all my questions.
Okay.
How can you learn to see your own way of thinking not as a weakness, but as an individual style? What do you think?
I mean, at least in chess terms, like you get some sort of feedback how your own style of thinking works, because you have some sort of objective measurement of your strength at chess. So
Yes.
yeah, you get a form of feedback, like how well your style of thinking works in that sense. So, and if it doesn't work out well, then maybe it's time to change it. But otherwise, why to change it if it works?
Yeah.
But that's of course only chess. So, but chess is unique, or at least interesting in the way that you get a very clear objective feedback, like how your way of thinking works out.
Yeah. And I find it very interesting. You tend to stick to routines, you told in one video, and you often eat the same things for lunch. So me, it's the same. And what's it like for you to look other people in the eye? How is it for you?
I don't know. I never did it a lot. Like, I usually, I mean, sometimes I look people in the eye, but I'm not a person who looks too much into the eyes of other people. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because I was recognizing this in the videos that you always look somewhere else. And I know this from a lot of autistic people. They also don't like it. And do you know also this feeling that if you're going through a street, and for example, there are those lines that you always try to not to touch these lines that you see on the ground, even that they doesn't exist. Do you know this?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, there can be some patterns on the ground, and you try to hit the same spots or something,
Yes.
or not some specific spots. Yeah, sometimes it depends. Like, sometimes I also don't think about it too much when I walk outside, but sometimes I can also think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because this was what I was thinking about when you talked about this, that you tend to stick the routine and often eat the same. And I was thinking, oh, wow, okay, perhaps I'm also like you. Yes, is there, yeah, I have got one last question.
Okay.
Yeah, wait. I can't find the question anymore, but I think I remember. So if there's one question that no one asked you till now, but what you think, what would be the best question? So something that people need to know about you, you know? So which question do you think till now in no interview, no one asked you this question, but you think this question would be very important?
I'm not sure. The worst part is I'm pretty sure like I was already asked like this exact question, like what question would you want to be asked or something that you haven't been asked, and I never have a good answer for that. So I don't think I now have a good answer. Yeah, not sure.
So you don't know anything what people should know about you that perhaps they don't know because no one asked you till now?
Yeah, I don't think I have a good question that needs to be asked to me. Like, I mean, yeah, I was already at least once asked this question, like, what question do you always wanted to get so you can answer it or something. But, yeah, I have no clue.
Okay, and do you think you will be playing chess in tournaments for the rest of your life? Or do you think one day you will be retired and you will think, oh my God, I'm happy that I don't have to do with this anymore?
I mean, hard to say. I think chess will always be a big part of my life. Like I can't imagine not dealing with chess at all in some way. But I could imagine that at some point when I get older and I feel like my strength is declining, it might also be that I don't want to play like very competitively anymore, because it can probably be very frustrating if you're not able to perform at the level you once used to. And yeah, I think that could be extremely frustrating. So yeah, I'm not sure. It will always be a big part of my life, but I'm not sure I'll always want to keep playing competitively. It's very possible at some point. I feel like I don't want to play as much competitively anymore because it's just not, or it can be too frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Matthias, because I think now after 1 hour of talking, even that I would like to ask you more and more questions, but I think we should stop.
Okay, yeah.
So thank you very much, and one last question. So why are you living next to dead mold? Because it's really, like you say in English, dead. It's really dead there. Were you grow up there, or why are you living in this small town?
Yeah, I grew up in Lemgo. That's the place where I grew up.
Lemgo,
and
yes.
yeah, and now I live in Bielefeld, so I didn't move very far away. It's just where I studied, and I didn't see a reason to move away. So
Okay, because this was when I saw Lemgo. I was once as a child in the Freilichtmuseum, in this museum in Detmold. And so that's why I know that it was really small. And I was asking me, why are you living it? But Bielefeld, it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, Matthias. So I wish you a good night.
Yeah, sure. Good evening. Good night.
See you soon, perhaps in Cyprus. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.